we're back at it again with another guide, and this one is how to design your homestead actively. It's a bit different from the other one, mainly because of the outlines and guidelines that I'm going to share with you today. And here we have to really specify what we want out of our property when we actually have the means to buy it, rent it, or get access to it. So I hope this is of value to you. And without further ado, let's get into it. So first of all, I'm working off one of my client questionnaires. So there are three categories: garden lot, farm, or public property. However, the former two are the only ones that are really of relevance in this situation. So, what kind of property are you designing? So, for you, it would be a garden lot or a farm, or other. It could be, say, an aquaculture site where you do fish farming, but that's a very niche category. So, let's just work with the former two. So, say we're working with a farm. What would be the intended use for the property? So let me dive into this. So what kind of systems would you want to implement? Would you want animals? Would you want a commercial crop? Would you just want a small piece of land to grow your own food, keep chickens for eggs, for meat, goats for milk, etc.? Or do you see yourself more in the macro? Are you contributing to a local food supply? Are you having value addition to your on-farm products? Say you turn your milk into cheese, you cure the meat from perhaps your pigs, your cows, goats to make jerky, salami, prosciutto. Anyway, but you have to really specify what is the use of the property. If this isn't clear to you, I strongly advise you to write down what you would like to find in your property and what you would like to use it for. I'd say about 500 words. So write actionable step, write a 500-word paragraph that would outline the intended use for your property, all the things that you necessarily dream about that is embodied in this property, because when you imagine it, I can see it now. There are vines going up the trees, there are bird songs, there are chickens, goats, horses, cows, cheeky rabbit or two, dogs, cats. Sounds beautiful, but we need a actionable, tangible description of what the property should be. And this is something that will be very useful for you in future when you get the funds to actually buy the property. So moving on. Is this just for you? So who will this property serve necessarily? Is it you as an individual? Is it your family? Or perhaps your business? So are you wanting to go into market gardening or agroforestry systems where you are growing crop and value-added product for the general market or the local market? Or is this just for the food security needs of yourself or your family? Again, not every one of us have families at this point, but it's good to think ahead, myself included. Or other, I don't know what else other would be, but I'm sure you guys with your creativity, you can think of something. So moving on from that. So is it for an individual, a family, a business, or other? What is the level of food reliance required? So when I say food reliance, I mean food self-reliance. So looking at it, do you want to grow all your own food, most of your own food, some, a little bit, a few, or none? I mean, hardly any of us will go for the last one. Like if we're of sound mind and body, like we want to purchase a farm for the necessity of growing our own food. We're not in an industrial model. We're not growing milk, not growing milk. We're not growing crop for the general market, and that's all being sold to a wholesale supplier, and we get a pittance for it. We want to, if we are growing crop for the consumer market, we want it to be valuable crops, say like squashes, fruits, soft fruits especially. I will do a video in the future about the Permaculture Designer's Manual. This will be a full 12 chapter video covering each of the chapters of the Permaculture Designer's Manual. I'm sure you will get vast quantities of knowledge from that. And if you have the funds to purchase the Designer's Manual, I highly recommend it, because it is a brilliant piece of literature and very informative as well. It's entertaining to read as well. So anyway, what is the goal? Do you want to meet all your food needs? Most, some, few, or none? What are the priorities? So what are the needs and goals that you want this site to accomplish? Right? Say, for example, do you want to halt soil erosion? This would be a wise choice. We don't want soil going off the site. We want to keep it. We want to build it as well. Perhaps we want to graze cattle, sheep, goats for our own needs and for the needs of others that we can sell to. Really narrow down from your former 500-word paragraph. Pick out the main points and list them in a separate paragraph. So really outline. And when I say outline, I mean put three priorities. What are the three priorities for your site? 3 to 5 is all right, but 3 definite ones that you can definitely achieve with this site is the best one. So moving on. How much do you value privacy? So would you want your site open for all the world to see, or would you rather enclosed? Or would you rather total seclusion like some people do in Alaska, where they have to travel, 5 hours to the nearest supermarket? I don't get the logic, but it works for some people. So how much do you value visual privacy? So the options are not at all, very little, a lot, total seclusion, some, or I don't really know. You'll have to specify this to yourself. You can include this in the 500-word paragraph. If it is already included, then you don't really need to specify, but just add this to create a bulleted list as I go through this video of the questions that I am giving to you now, and this will help you create a tangible idea in your mind of what your property, your farm, and your paradise will look like. What is your dietary restrictions, if you have any? So are you allergic to certain things? What is your preferred diet, for example? So do you go for carnivore, for keto, vegan, vegetarian, or do you eat normally? It's important to narrow this down, because some people do have debilitating conditions relating to food. So keep this in mind when designing for yourself and for others if you want to become a permaculture designer. Again, you know yourself most. I personally believe that permaculture design is the way to wealth first and foremost, that does not sell out. It does not sell you out as a person, say with a heartless business model, I don't know, social media marketing agency or drop shipping, you get no enjoyment from it, let's be honest. But this, it's an active process. You go onto the site of the client, you assess the needs of the client, you look at the landscape, you find what you could do to increase the biodiversity of the landscape, how you could implement water harvesting systems, how you could breathe life into a new site, into a debilitated site, and make it whole again. This is, by many religious philosophies, a stewardship that is required of us. You know, personally, God teaches us that this is getting deeper, but I will share my personal view on this. In the Bible, it does tell us that we should subdue the earth, but whether this is a necessarily wise thing to do, it depends. So instead of thinking how to subdue the earth, how do we tailor the earth to our needs in the least amount of space as possible? And then with the rest of it, we devote that all to the natural world, to the biosphere, to all the plants and animals that live wild. This is the way we should do this. And I'm sure in Buddhist teachings, in Taoist teachings, and all these other teachings, that there is a similar philosophy. Ultimately, these teachings are universal, and it is our duty as young people and as ecologically minded and entrepreneurially minded people to actually, what's the word, manifest this. So anyway, moving on. This was a side tangent, but I feel that it is very important as our life philosophy that we need to serve the earth that serves us. Anyway, so what do you specifically request in your site, or what does the client specifically request? So what is a must? Again, you can put the former 3 main points that I mentioned in this category, or you can dream up some new ones. So for example, here it says a window for harvesting fresh berries. So you have a fresh berry bush just outside your window. You can pick off raspberries for your morning breakfast. Large bumper crops of strawberries for our preservation, making jams. What else? Jellies. Yeah. Or fruit leather. That's a good one. Fresh supply of salad greens in your vegetable garden. That's a brilliant one. Right? Who doesn't love fresh salad? Like, it's brilliant. And animal fodder system. So if you want to keep goats, sheep, cows, it would be useful around the paddocks to grow those palatable plants that are most nutritious for your livestock. So keep this in mind when actually writing all this down. And perhaps in another video, if by your recommendation or by any more clarification that is needed, I will do a follow-up answering your questions. So yeah, I look forward to it. Anyway, what structures currently exist on site that you will not be designing and placing as part of the design? So perhaps there's an old house, it's debilitated, there are old barns that you don't really want. However, this can be problematic in some cases. So if there is a main house that is incomparably large, it is unlikely that moving it will be effective. However, a shed, more so, that it's a pretty mobile structure if you think about it. It's just light wood. However, we need to take this into consideration. And perhaps, if able, reconstruct these existing structures on site to our specific needs. So if we don't want to build a new house, we can refurbish the old house and add water harvesting mechanisms such as roof water harvesting, solar panels, a greenhouse on the south side or the north side, depending on which hemisphere you're in. This can be a very useful tool to have in your arsenal if you are clued up on the architectural facets of permaculture design. But again, more on that in another video. What drives, roads, paths or other access that exist on site that we will not be changing as part of the design? So this is more when you actually come to purchase the property, but especially if there are access routes that are not on contour but are more so badly designed, it would be more useful to rip them up, quite frankly. Unwise design of access is possibly one of the most destructive elements on site. It does contribute to erosion, and ultimately the maintenance involved is astronomical. I speak from relative experience because at my old job I worked as a tradesman. I've worked in quite a few trades. Building was one of them. I worked as an apprentice tiler under my brother, and I do work a lot with my hands. So though I'm not the most reliable to what's the word? Vouch for this. I have mentors that say this is definitely something that you need to consider if the access is not on contour or not on ridge lines for the most part, then it is much more economical to get rid. Again, my mentors know so much more than I do. If there are any mishaps or things that you're unsure of, I will consult these people, my mentors, to help answer your questions. Anyway. So what will you be designing along with the basic mechanisms on site, so the water map and the access map? Here it says these structural positions such as homes, outbuildings, fences, earthworks, water storage, paths, access routes, roads, non-visible hydrological systems, e.g. Underwater tanks, underwater pipes that hold water and that spread water, and are a transportation system for water, and other things you can't really compute at this stage, but when you are more active in the design process and when consulting with the designer, if that is your chosen path, you will get to know these more. Yeah, as it says, non-visible hydrological solutions, pumps, canats, culverts, buried irrigation pipes, buried drainage systems, curtain drains, French drains. These are very specialised water management systems. If you would like further information on what these are, then I would be happy to let you know. So, what are the known advantages, resources, and limitations that you or the client provides? So, budget advantages, how much money do you have to invest in the site? What is the soil strata on site? So, is it clay, sand, gravel? Is the soil high in humus, organic matter? Is it alkaline, acid, or quite neutral in pH? These are all things to consider, as well as do you have other people that could contribute to the regeneration of the site that you know. Perhaps your friend drives a dump truck, can help transport material. Is there an existing swimming pool, perhaps? If not, would you like a swimming pool? Would you like a pool deck? Would you like a swimming pond, natural swimming pool? All these different recreational facets of the design, such as you could have a steam room, sauna, cold plunge pool. And is there large machinery that could help you with earthworks and general agriculture on site? So is there a tractor and bucket? Are there plant machinery such as diggers, levelers, different things like this, subsoilers? That's a very crucial farm implement that is very instrumental to soil restoration, but more on that on another video. This will be a very long video. I'm just letting you know, but you can click on and click off if it is your preference. Anyway, what is the largest limitation or obstacle related to this site that will need to be overcome as this design is implemented? So I'm trying to think of an example. Okay, so imagine, it's quite a niche example, but imagine there are 50 cars buried under the soil strata on your site. This may be a cause of pollution when you're trying to grow crops, and funnily enough, this isn't altogether that rare nowadays. Like, the amount of trash that people bury is frankly disgusting. Like, and it is a real shame, but ultimately we have to consider this when designing when to rehabilitate, how to rehabilitate, and how to overcome these obstacles. And that is our responsibility as designers, young people, and as the generation that will enact change. Anyway, what specific skills, abilities, or resources does the client or yourself personally bring to the situation? So, do you have expertise in gardening, orchard management, or related fields? Can you perhaps graft trees in an agroforestry setting? Are you experienced with tree planting? Can you do CAD computer aided design when designing the site? Do you know about topography, geography? Perhaps you did a course at college related to this. If not, and you're unsure, it is still useful to put down those areas that you're not so sure about. And again, as you gain experience in this field, it will be manifest how you can contribute to the site through this. Again, it's trial and error. Like ultimately we're going to make mistakes, but that's fine. And as long as we make these mistakes knowing that in mind we will contribute a net good, this is fine. Ultimately we shouldn't mess up a site. We shouldn't we should clean up if we make a mistake, but ultimately in the grand scheme of things it's nothing to worry about. What is your or the client's familiarity with permaculture? So is it low, medium, or high? So do you know much about permaculture? Or have you never heard of it before? Or have you just heard it in passing? Again, permaculture, it will change the world. I'll say that again. Permaculture will change the world. So I highly recommend that you do your research on permaculture because it is perhaps the most common sense way of enacting change for the good. And I'll tell you this. This is a quote from Bill Mollison, the founder of permaculture. And when I first heard it, it shocked me tremendously, but ultimately it is crucial that I share this with you. He says this. I'm going to paraphrase this horribly. Hang on, I'll get it up. Here it is. For 6,000 years, human beings have been developing agriculture, and for most of that time it was sustainable. It is only in the last 100 years that we have been destroying the soil, water, and the atmosphere with industrial farm. That's the wrong one. Hang on. Here it is. In the early 1970s, it dawned on me that no one had ever applied design to agriculture. When I realised it, the hairs went up on the back of my neck. It was so strange. We had had agriculture for 7,000 years, and we'd been losing for 7,000 years. Everything was turning into desert, so I wondered, can we build systems that obey ecological principles? And ultimately, permaculture is that system. It is the absolute foundation for all that we need to do. And the best way to do this is to take a PDC, a permaculture design certificate course. And I just think that though it's so hard to be optimistic when we see what's going on around us, think of the change we can enact. It makes me smile when I imagine the world when there are guys like me and you who actually have an impact on those things that contribute to the ecological, destructive, and debilitating systems that are currently in place right now. But ultimately, with ambition, with drive, and with the divine providence that is backing us up, we could achieve everything that we ever wanted. And doing so, we could heal the earth. What a great reality that would be. And it is a reality. There is change happening right now. And I'm so glad that you're here on this journey with me. Anyway, there will be more on this. There will be more on these types of videos later in the sequence of the channel. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe and post notifications button. That way you will be notified when I upload a new video. And I'm just going to end on this mission statement. So here at the Gaia Vista Project, here we help ecologically minded individuals pursue their passion through entrepreneurship. If this sounds good to you, then I will see you in the next video. Bye.